Okay, so we may have a few stragglers because I just saw that a few students RSVP'd a bit late in the game. So I just quickly sent them the Zoom link. Um, but I'm going to get started in the interest of time. Felicia, if you could just keep an eye on the folks that are stepping in, if you could just admit them quickly as I'm chatting here. So welcome everyone. Excited you could join us today. My name is Corinne Daron. I work with the New York City Department of Education's Career and Technical Education Office. We're so thrilled to have you here today. This is part 2 of a 3-part series in collaboration with New York City Jewelry Week. We had a wonderful opening event last month, and I know many of you joined then, and it's great that you were able to rejoin us today, and I hope you will also join us again next month for our 3rd and final part of the series. Without further ado, I want to introduce the wonderful folks at New York City Jewelry Week.
Hi.
Felicia and Bella.
Hi, thank you so much. Hello, everyone. Welcome to part 2 of the Jewelry Project series called College Bound. My name is Bella Naiman. I'm one of the co-founders of New York City Jewelry Week. In case this is your first time joining us, just to tell you a little bit about Jewelry Week, we are a cultural platform dedicated to promoting and celebrating the world of jewelry through educational and innovative focused programming that takes place in person and virtually, like this program here today. We hope that you will visit our Instagram at NYC Jewelry Week to learn more about us. I'm really excited to be here with my colleague, Felicia Sampson, our Here We Are Outreach Director. Here We Are is an important part of New York City Jewelry Week, and Felicia will tell you all about it. Felicia, I think you're still muted.
There we go. Hey everyone, so happy to see your beautiful faces. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. As Bella said, I am the Here We Are Outreach Director. And just to give you a little background on Here We Are, we celebrate voices and visions of jewelers of color that help to make the jewelry world one of the most captivating industries around. We basically provide a platform for visibility, business growth, and connections for jewelers to basically build community around awareness, education, and empowerment. So I'm really excited to see all of your faces from all diverse backgrounds. That's what we do this for. And also our panel is full of beautiful faces and colors and hues, and we want to speak to that, and we want to continue having these stories told from different backgrounds. So we are now creating the Jewelry Project, and we started out, if you guys saw the first one, February 24th, with the introduction to jewelry design with Lorraine West and Johnny Nelson, and had an amazing conversation. And this time around, we want to get you guys college bound, right? So we have wonderful professors from Pratt Institute, along with Kingsborough. We have amazing panelists that are alumni of Pratt, a current student, and another treat for you, another alumni from Westinghouse High School, who will be discussing her path. So without further ado, we are going to get started with you, Pat.
Okay. All right, let me share my screen. Hi, everyone. It is a great pleasure to be here today with my colleague, Professor Katrin Zimmerman. I'm Patricia Medea. I am the jewelry program coordinator at Pratt. And we put together a little presentation to share with you, just so we can kind of introduce what it means to study jewelry. And I'm so pleased to share this with you as high school students, because we so often hear from students that come to Pratt, like, I didn't know you could study jewelry. So Katrin, did you wanna sort of jump in there and just say
I
hi?
sit in the back and lurk and wait until I can bring something that is important. But I do want to say welcome. We're really excited. We want you all to come to Pratt. So there.
So we have a lot of information to share, and some of that will include not just studying at Pratt, but what other educational opportunities are out there for jewelry. Not every student sees a 4-year degree program the right fit for them. So we're going to talk about all of that. So thought I'd give you a little glimpse into what our studios look like at Pratt, and here are some images. Oh, I thought that was me. Okay, so here are some images. Like what does a jewelry studio look like? And of course, it's filled with benches and tons of equipment. And I know our alumni are probably like, oh yes, I remember that. But yes, in jewelry, we use tons of tools. And when people walk into our studios, they're always like, whoa, this is so great. I wanna work with these things. But all of this is used for metalworking and to create pieces. So at Pratt, we have 10 faculty members. I'm very proud of that. When I began sort of crafting a new vision of this program, I was very conscious about making sure that our students had very diverse voices from our faculty. So our faculty really come from all different aspects of the jewelry field. And later we're going to talk more about that. We have a little quiz game planned for later, but we're going to introduce you to what those different areas of the field are. This is Troy, who was in my Jewelry 1 class last year. And this is the very first project our students do. Troy was not a jewelry major. He was an animation and gaming student. But many students take our classes from all over the Institute, all different majors, and they come because they love making things. And this was the very first piece of jewelry he ever made, the first piece of metalworking he ever did. So one of the things that I'd love for you to consider is that if you are thinking about jewelry, you may say, I've never made jewelry before. I don't know how to do it, but that's okay, because you're going to learn that. We at Pratt, we start at the very beginning with all the basics, and we lead you through a 4-year program. So here are some degree options that are available to you as a jewelry student. So there are 2-year degree programs out there. There are 4-year degree programs out there, which is what Pratt is. There are, we are a Bachelor's of Fine Arts, but there's also a Bachelor's of Design at some schools. You can then move on to an MFA or an MD, a master's degree, and that would be an additional 2 years in most cases. Outside of the degree, there is also the ability to do a technical certificate. And there are many schools that offer technical certificates. And at Pratt, we actually have a jewelry certificate that you take like, I think it's 6 classes to earn the certificate. And they're in all different things. They're in studio work, they're in design work, CAD work, business practices. And later on, I'll put some links to those in the chat so you can find them. There are also a lot of non-degree programs and workshops. And in my next slide, I'm going to show you some that are in New York City. Some students just say, you know what, I don't really want to do a degree in this, but I want to learn to make jewelry. So they just take individual workshops and classes, and they're they're a non-degree. So you're usually taking them with maybe people who are doing a continuing education exploration, or just someone who wants to learn but doesn't want to have that 4-year or 2-year experience. And then there is the apprenticeship, which is like an on-the-job training, and there are many companies that will hire and sponsor young artists, young people interested in jewelry on the job, and sort of teach you from the ground up. So that's another option. Oh, and by the way, I've also created a PDF document that has links to all of these different opportunities that will distribute to you. So here's a list of all the non-degree schools in New York City. And some questions come up about scholarships. Like, okay, say you decide that you want to do a 2-year or 4-year degree program. Well, we all know, college can be costly. So what kinds of scholarships and support opportunities are out there? So here, this slide shows you all of the scholarships and financial aid that is offered at Pratt, and that's on the document that I have available for you. And then FIT also has the Art Smith Memorial Scholarship, and FIT, which you probably all know, Fashion Institute of Technology in New York City, they are a 2-year degree program. So they differ from Pratt. And then here are some other scholarships. For example, GIA, the Gemological Institute of America, they have scholarships for all their programs, and they are certificate programs. And then I have some scholarships that are offered by institutions outside of the university itself. And these are all designed to support education. So you would apply for them, and that money is usually directly applied to your tuition. And then I added these because I think these are also present interesting opportunities: residency, craft school, and emerging artist grants. So you may be more interested in going the workshop route. Well, many of these programs have scholarships, and residencies are where artists can go to the school and just take workshops, but also be supported by the school. So you have a studio, you interact with other artists, and you're actually paid for that. You're given a stipend, and all of your meals and your housing are all taken care of. So that's another way to kind of experience or expand your art practice. So now we're going to show some slides from our fabulous alumni. So I put together just a few quick slides, and this is some of Taisha's work, and Taisha's here with us today, so she'll talk more about that with you shortly. This is Amanda Bay. This piece I put this in because of the fashion connection. Our students think about jewelry, of course, in its own context, but also Amanda really explored the connection between fashion and jewelry and metalwork. And this is another one of her pieces. So I have a question, and I can't see the chat at the moment, but I'm hoping. I'm hoping everyone else can. So I'm really curious if you guys want to type in the chat, what do you think this piece is made out of? Oops, I gave it away. Oops. Oh, so this looks like duct tape, and I'm sure you all thought this was duct tape when you first saw it. But this is actually made from sterling silver, and this is the same brooch. You're seeing it from the back, and that's a pin mechanism that fits into that brooch. But this student really wanted this piece of silver to look like duct tape, and I think she achieved it incredibly well. Sorry about that. Okay. And this is another one of Haley's pieces, and this is headphones that they don't function as headphones, but they're all made out of sterling silver. And here we have Andrea's work, who's also one of our alumni with us today. Her beautiful watercolors and then jewelry that she created out of the actual watercolor itself and embedded those in silver.
I think it's important to mention also, you know, you might look at this now and think, wow, this is all crazy stuff. It looks more like art than jewelry. But I think it's important to mention also that we really do the whole gamut of it, right? When somebody comes to Pratt, they can decide that they want to go and do fine jewelry. They want to, you know, cast jewelry out of wax, like these pieces here, for example, that are small earrings from crystal, or that they want to go really into the art field. And we support whatever it is that our students come with, right, Pat?
Absolutely, Katrin. And that's a great point. And yes, uh, our overall program is designed to teach everything from studio classes, technical classes, CAD, design. We also have our very important professional practices class, as well as seminars and history of jewelry class. So it is an extremely well-rounded program. And we encourage our students to find their voices. Like, who are you in this field? Not what do we want you to be? And I think that's really important. And I also think that sets us apart from many other programs. So this is Danielle Hill's work, and I know Bella knows Danielle well because they worked together after Danielle graduated. So Danielle, after she graduated, she made this piece, and this piece was worn by Lady Gaga on the red carpet. And of course, Danielle got tons of orders for this piece. But we were very excited and very proud of her for this accomplishment. And many of our students have had, you know, pieces in publications and books and exhibitions. Our students really go on to achieve many, many things. This is Celine's work, our current student. Celine, this was one of the pieces that she submitted for a competition that we did with the Platinum Guild International. And I can't show you the winning piece yet. I don't know if I can, Katrin, because I'm not sure if it's public. So we picked this one.
We're keeping it, you know,
Yes.
we're keeping it away until it comes out and it made in platinum. So
Yes.
get their pieces made in actual platinum. So it's going to be really exciting, and we'll see it soon.
Yes. And so the winning design is part, it looks like this is part of, has this aesthetic, but it's earrings. So Celine, congratulations again. And we can't wait to see the piece in platinum. So exciting. But these are the types of opportunities that we try to bring to our students. We work really hard to, you know, bring in guest speakers, to partner with organizations so that we can, you know, really help our students get out there so they can build up their professional skills and really understand what it means after you graduate and be prepared. So we're so pleased with all the partnerships we've created. This website, Critty Art, if you go to Critty Art, you will see currently the BFA class from 2020, their work and portfolios. You will see the Platinum Guild International, all of the entries for that competition from our current senior class. And coming soon will be the 2021 BFA graduating class. So look out for that. And by the way, this site was created by one of our jewelry alumni. And I think it's really important that you understand that a degree opens doors. A degree can lead you to other places. So if you do a bachelor's degree in one area, you can always, you know, apply that to other things, whether it's graduate school, a different major when you go to graduate school, doing things like creating these types of sites, partnering with other people. We have had students go on to do PhDs. So it really does. I think having a degree is extremely important, but again, may not be for everyone. Here's a list of some of the places that all the ones I could think of that our students have been employed, have done internships or mentorships. And We also really encourage our students to do internships. We feel like there's such a practical learning experience there. And we're so grateful that we have companies that are willing to work with us and take our students on for internships. Also wanted to mention that we have a center at Pratt, a center for career and professional development. And this center supports our students and our alumni forever. So if you say you study one thing and you decide you want to take a different career path, you can go to our center, you can make an appointment, you can meet with a counselor, and they'll help you figure that out. But this center also offers all kinds of support for students and alumni to help them with business practices, resume building, cover letter writing, applying for jobs. It's also entrepreneurship. They have an incredible entrepreneurship program. So I just wanted to share that with you because I think that's something that Pratt does really well. And it's something that most other schools do not offer. So I think we're gonna take some of Bella's questions. And Katrin, I wasn't sure if you wanted to add anything else that I may have forgotten.
No, I'm checking a little bit the text and the questions. There's a good question from Manai. She said, or he said, are there PhDs in jewelry? And I was just saying, not really in jewelry as such, in art history, anthropology, related fields.
So I'd also like to say you can do a PhD in jewelry, not in the US, but there are other countries that do allow you to do PhDs in jewelry. You can do a PhD in craft here, which is a bit broader. And then of course, what Katrin mentioned. Great question.
Okay, awesome. That was a great question. Thank you. So I have, thank you so much, Pat and Katrin, for that incredible presentation. I have some questions, some a little bit sort of more general as well. So for students who need a timeline to get started discussing college, when do you believe that high school students should begin researching college programs that they may be interested in?
Oh, so I would say as soon as possible.
Okay.
You know, I think that the research part of that should begin soon. However, I think sometimes students are sort of forced into having to make this decision really quickly and under a lot of pressure. And I think it's important to remember that even if you know, to look at schools in a broad way, like, well, what is it that I'm interested in? So maybe it's jewelry, but maybe I'm also interested in business practices. So I want to look for a school that maybe has both of those, because maybe I'm going to study jewelry, maybe I'm going to take some business classes, maybe you know. So I think it's looking at the options, the school, and then how early. It's like, yeah, you want to start doing that research early, and then you have a list, and then you can kind of edit it down, and then you know where you're going to apply.
And what are the types of questions that high school students should be asking themselves when applying to college? I know I'm asking you all the tough ones.
No. I wrote all these notes to all these questions, but you know, I think that again, I think it's you know, what questions do you ask yourself? It's more about you know, am I going to be good at this particular thing, or am I, you know, and I think that doesn't matter necessarily, right? It's like I'm really interested in art. Hey, I had 3 majors, right? I had architecture, then I was a sculptor, went into sculpture, and then I took a jewelry class and I went, oh my God, this is what I love. Like, this is it. But it took me a while to get there. Not everyone gets there right away. So I would say just like, don't feel pressured, but also have some direction. Like, oh, you know, this is what I love to do, because I think it's so important when you go to school, if you go on to higher education, that you're really doing something you love, or you have the opportunity to find something you love.
Yeah.
I want to join that and just really say that, you know, it's sometimes it's this thing that you're not even aware of, right? And you just kind of, it's in the back of your mind, or maybe you check out your mom's jewelry, or you check out your girlfriend's jewelry, or it doesn't necessarily have to be something that you're completely aware of, right? But if you notice that you are just a happy camper when you're drawing, for example, you know, then that means something. And it's really important to let that be valid and to follow that a little bit. And then you're going to find out later that some things that you do, which you think are totally crazy and have nothing to do with you, are in fact exactly what you were supposed to be doing all along, right?
Yeah.
I see all our students nodding. I'm glad, right? And but
Yeah.
really important.
And so, you know, and I agree with you. I think sort of being passionate and finding the thing that makes you happy is the most important thing. And sometimes it takes time to figure that out, which is why I'm also so happy that we're having this conversation and hopefully opening up all of these students to, you know, jewelry as well as fashion. So when discussing fashion and jewelry majors, what are some of the myths that you two would like to dispel that may deter students from signing up?
I think, can I say one right away? There's this joke about the guy who says, you know, the girl who says, oh, I've got a boyfriend, he must have rich parents. And the other girl says, why? And she says, well, because he's studying English. You know, there is that idea as well, right? The people who study jewelry, it's like, you know, you're never going to make any money. That is not true. That is really not true. That is a valid path that gets you into a good and well-paying job if that's where you want to go.
Yes, absolutely. I forgot. I had a thought on that too. Oh my God, I got so captured by Catherine's.
Oh, okay. Then I have another one. Let me.
That's another one.
If you study jewelry, then there's only one path you can take, right? I mean, one of those things that we always do is we show this huge jewelry mandala, which shows the hundreds of different things that you can do that are complete from, you know, setting stones for Cartier, right? And dealing with diamonds all day long, to making installations like Taisha is doing right now that is really art, you know? So there are so many different ways, and there's literally something for every single person and their interest. So this is not a one path deal and then you feel like, oh, I should do it or I shouldn't do it. You will find something that is exactly right for you in this field.
Awesome.
And just quickly, the thought I had that I lost is that most of our students, like I hear our foundation students, so at Pratt, you have to take a foundation year before you declare your major. And in that foundation year, you kind of get a little taste of different things. You know, might do some film and video, you'll do drawing, you'll do color theory, history of jewelry. But many foundation students come to our open house, for example, that we do for foundation students. And they say, you know, I don't know if I'd be good at this. I've never done this before. And I'm like, just try, you know, just if you think if there's just the smallest chance that this looks intriguing to you, take a class. You know, at Pratt, you have a lot of electives. You have, you get 2 fine arts electives. So say you're a jewelry major, but you love painting. Well, you can take 2 painting electives if you want, or you can take a printmaking elective or sculpture, but you can also take 3 electives outside the major, which means in fashion, in industrial design, in architecture is a little trickier because the schools are a little different and the degrees are a little different, but you could take it in animation or computer design, or, you know, you can really kind of tailor your program, your class selections to what is what's going to help you succeed or meet your goals.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. So sort of with that in mind, what are some of the struggles that you feel new students face when starting college? And what are some of the ways that Pratt helps to ease those struggles?
So I'm thinking our alumni and our current student are going to be able to answer that question.
Fair enough. We'll skip that.
gonna say I had two things written down.
Okay,
One,
good.
I think is time management,
Mhm,
and also being self-motivated,
mhm.
because you have to be able to motivate, go to class on your own, no one sort of, I mean, yes, we take attendance, but that's not why you're there, so self-motivation and time management, I think, is tricky for students.
Okay. Well, I think that's tricky for anyone.
I know it's true.
But
We're
um,
teaching life skills too.
yeah. Katrin, is there anything you wanted to add to that?
I'm just looking, Fran just popped a question in there. What are some skills one would need uh, or have to develop in jewelry design? For example, Pat mentioned drawing, etc. So really, you can come into this program not having done any of that, right? You can literally come in saying, I'm just interested in trying this. And you can also come in deciding, for example, that what you want to do is painting. And then, this doesn't mean that you're going to have to be stuck in the painting forever and then, just do that. We have lots of people who start in advertising or, who knows what other kind of area. And then they sort of slowly change their outlook, right? And decide, wait a minute, maybe what I want to do actually is jewelry, or what I want to do is architecture or fashion or whatever. So just because at this point you decide that that's what you want to do does not mean that you're going to come out on the other side having done only that. The whole point is, right, that we want you to explore who you are and who you can be, right? Because you can be, first of all these things, but what is it that you want to be? That's really important, and we help with that.
Yeah.
And I think the one thing that I would say about this is that I think you have to like to make things. You have to like to make objects, because that's what jewelry is, right? It's wearable objects. It's wearable art. It's related to the body. But that's a skill. That's a desire you have to have. It's not a 2D. It's not a two-dimensional discipline. So much. Although there are some artists who make jewelry two-dimensional, like with more of a two-dimensional feel. Like, I'm not saying that, but and I just want to say to that question, who asked about drawing, I am a bad drawer. I don't like drawing. Like, I sketch just to get the design on paper so I remember, but I love to go right to the material. I'm like right into the metal, building, working, soldering, sawing, all of that kind of stuff. So again, working with your hands, important, and working dimensionally.
And I just also want to mention, Pat and Katrin both just said, we don't like to draw. But I do want to mention, Pat had a slide up earlier of all of the incredible instructors and professors in the program. And everyone in this program, including Pat and Katrin, they're full-time jewelers. I mean, Katrin's in her studio right now. So the benefit also, from going to this institution is the professors who are really giving you this incredible hands-on knowledge, because, we often think about professors as these sort of like larger than life people. We're not really there's kind of a little bit of a disconnect between them and us, but these are real people. These are real professionals. And so the advice that they can impart is really kind of incredible. So that leads me to my last question. And that is, if you two could travel back in time to your high school self today, what advice would you give yourself in terms of preparing for college and career?
So I can say that it was a very different time when I went to school, right? I was totally on my own. I didn't have parents who were like helping me with the application or anything like that. I did everything on my own. And of course, I didn't even, again, here I am saying it. I didn't even know you could make jewelry and make a living and, do that. I didn't know that was a major at the time. I kind of wish I had started there, but, but I also believe that, like, that path that I took was just right. you know, it's what I needed then. I got to explore all these different things, and then I got to find my passion. And so I wish I had a better answer, but I feel like I have too much distance.
I actually have something to say, which maybe, you know, you guys really do need to hear. And that is that, you know, if you can pick the thing you like. My first degree is in Chinese and art and archaeology, okay, which for various reasons I thought I had to study because it was supposed to be the thing that I was supposed to do, whatever. And you know what? It wasn't my passion, and it wasn't something that I really wanted to do. And, you know, when I arrived in New York, I'm not from here. When I arrived, somebody said to me, Catherine, sooner or later, you're going to have to do what you love to do. Why don't you do it a little bit sooner? And that then prompted me to go and, you know, pick something out of the hat, which I thought, jewelry, whatever, who knows, right? But later I realized it was exactly the thing I was always supposed to be doing. So if you can, and if you are able to do that, just pick what you love, because it really makes your life a lot easier.
Yeah. I also, you know, I know that now, obviously, we're all more or less stuck at home. But when you can, I also really encourage you to go and visit the Pratt campus. I think it is one of the most magical places in Brooklyn that is not only, I mean, just beautiful, you know, because of it's like this beautiful art park in the middle of Brooklyn. And the facilities are great. And one of the things that I really adore about Pratt, and also Pat mentioned it earlier, is that at the end of every year, they do a thesis exhibition that's open for everyone to come and visit. And this year, of course, it's online, and Pat mentioned the website, and we will put it in the chat for you to all check out. But it's really incredible to be able to come and see the work in person and to speak to the students, because I think that's also so important. Of course, today you'll hear from some of the alumni and from a current student, but to be able to go and see and experience the work that these students are making, it is above and beyond. And I always find it so inspirational. And I'm sure that if you guys go, you'll be just as inspired. So with that, thank you so very much to Pat and to Katrin. We will, Pat, you mentioned that you have a PDF that we can send around to the students. We will share that with Corinne, and Corinne can distribute that to your teachers. Sorry, I don't know why I lost my train of thought. To your teachers, because there are many resources that we want you to be able to see and to explore. And if you have any questions for Pat and Katrin, please still drop them in the chat. We're happy to, you know, continue the Q&A session throughout this. And so, Felicia, I will now hand it over to you.
Guys, so right now we are getting into our alumni section of the conversation. We have a current student by the name of Celine, who will be giving us a little insider track of the programs that she's participating in. We have two Pratt alumni, Taisha and Andrea, a part of the conversation. And then we have a Westinghouse alum who is now a art jewelry designer, Tite. So we're going to get started with questions for all. I want you all to answer these questions. So the first question is, when did you realize you wanted to be in jewelry? Celine, you can start.
Okay, so I realized it, I came to Pratt for industrial design, and I was taking a jewelry class, and this was my first week. And I had so much work for ID, and I was doing none of it. And I was just in the jewelry studio all the time. And that was pretty much it. I mean, I switched my major that week. I think I showed up to class the next day, and I probably should have asked her ahead of time, but I informed Pat that I was now a jewelry major. So it just took 1 week in the studio. But that was like 4 or 5 years, 3 years after I graduated from high school. So there was a gap there. But yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Andrea?
I actually went to Pratt for art history, so I thought I was going to have a completely different path. And I took one jewelry class because my sculpture professor freshman year was like, oh, you seem to really like 3D work. I'd never done any 3D work before. And so I took one class and then another one. And then finally, one of the professors basically whispered in my ear, you know, it might be easier if you just make this your major. And it wasn't even a thought. I couldn't imagine not spending time in that studio. So I talked to Pat, we had a conversation, and I ended up switching over like that day.
Wow. That's amazing. Taisha?
So you're going to realize there's some similarities with how all of us start. I too did not start off knowing anything about jewelry. So when I applied for college, I applied for architecture, and Pratt accepted me for architecture, but Pratt has another campus upstate New York in Utica that they don't do architecture, but they do all the other art forms. And they reached out like, hey, do you want to like do our art program? We give you a scholarship. And that was all they had to say. They just said scholarship. I was like, thank you. Yeah, I'm there. So when I got there, I couldn't do architecture, but I knew I loved making things with my hands, like Pat said. So sculpture was the next best thing. I was like, it's still big, but I still get to build. I love this. And I was putting so much detail into my sculptures that, like Andrea, a teacher was like, you should try jewelry. And I had walked past the jewelry studio so many times, never thought of it. I never knew it was a career. I never knew they did anything fun. It just really looked boring. And I thought it was just all stones and that kind of stuff. And I tried it. And after the first week as well, I was like, this is the architecture that got a little smaller, the sculpture that got a little smaller, the jewelry. And what really was the last thing that made me commit to jewelry was that it didn't only give me a way of thinking of art, but I also had I was gaining a skill set. And for me, that was important to have an employable skill set, because I was really, trying to plan for, like, I saw persons had questions about making money. I wanted to make sure if I didn't blow up as a really big artist, which I still plan to do, that I could at least work manufacturing jewelry for all of those people that Pat showed you, like Oscar de la Renta or Harry Winston. You could still get employed as a bench jeweler because you learn all that skill set anyway.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Taisha. Tite?
Well, my experience is just a little bit different. I'm a New Yorker. I graduated from high school, had to choose a high school, and I chose jewelry making because it seemed interesting. And the trip from my house, downtown Brooklyn, to Westinghouse was 2 trains. And my parents never let me out of their sight, so 2 trains was perfect. And I 10th grade, 11th grade, we learned different things. We soldered, we enameled, we did casting, we did all of that. And it never really connected to me until my year. My teacher pulled out a machine it was called the Swiss faceting machine. And what it did was put facets on blank wedding bands. And the senior year, we were working on a lathe and the Swiss faceting machine. So he had us on a lathe making mandrels and stuff, and I was just completely bored with that. But then he opened up the Swiss faceting machine, and I completely dominated that machine for the rest of my senior year. So every time somebody else went to make do a ring blank, I was right behind him. And then somebody else would go and I was right behind him. And it was supposed to be for the entire class, but I kept skipping in line and I stayed on the Swiss faceting machine. And then I kind of knew that there's something with all of this. That's what I knew.
Right, right. And, for the students, this is why we're having this talk with you and why we're building out this jewelry project for you, because, a lot of us didn't have the path to jewelry, the straight path to jewelry that a lot of other industries have. So we want to make sure that you are exposed to this industry, to these programs, you know, which is why we're having this conversation. So I'm so happy you guys are all here to hear this from these current jewelry designers and jewelry students. Second question, what are 3 key things to remember when researching and applying to colleges? Celine, you can get started.
Okay, are we good? Okay, we're going in order. So, okay. You don't need to apply right out of high school. That would be my one big suggestion. If you, like Pat's right, if you want to apply right out of high school, you should be looking at colleges as early as possible. But if that doesn't feel right, that's really okay. And even though I found jewelry 3 years, or I found Pratt 3 years after graduating high school, I don't think about it as, you know, I wish I would have at all. I wasn't ready when I graduated high school. So that would be number one. Number two, you don't need to know how to draw. You don't need to know how to draw for jewelry. You don't need to know how to draw unless you're studying drawing or architecture maybe. But also, even to get into college, I applied to 2 schools. I applied to RISD and Pratt, which are some of the most selective schools on the East Coast. I did not have a single drawing, painting, nothing like that. And I got into both schools. So if that feels like a barrier to you, it's not. It's just not. A third one. I have like a, and then also to add to that, like what could be in your portfolio is so much broader than what you typically learn in a high school art class. Like, do you make mini models of things out of, you know, sculpting? Like there might be something in that you don't recognize as anything beyond a hobby that, you know, the admissions advisors might look at that and they see color, form, creativity, and they absolutely see potential and talent. So your skills might not be where you think they are. And if there is something that you're doing that's creative, it's probably worth including in your portfolio. Those are my 3 things.
Those are amazing. That's an amazing answer. Thank you so much, Celine. Taisha.
So run me that question again. 3 things I wish I knew applying to college.
So what are 3 key things to remember when researching and applying to colleges?
I'd say apply to colleges in different, what you might call price brackets. So a more expensive school that you would love to get into, and that has opportunity for scholarship if that's necessary. A school that seems to have maybe a little less requirements, and then maybe a dream school somewhere else. Often schools have scholarships that you aren't aware of, and you can get a lot based on merit and good portfolio. So I found Pratt by Googling the top 10 art schools in America. And I had no idea I saw Pratt. I was like, okay, I'll apply to that one. And that's how I ended up going to Pratt. I knew nothing about it. So I'd say don't limit yourself when applying. You have all the freedom to choose after, say you apply to 10 and 7 accept you, then you can choose the one you want to go to. Celine pretty much said it. I also did not go to college right after school. I went 2 to 3 years later as well. So prior to that, I kind of filled my time doing an associate's program in art in general. And doing that program helped me build up a portfolio that got me into college. And that way, it also gave me a chance at a bigger scholarship. The third thing I would say is also start looking pretty early and give yourself, you know, if you don't go the first cycle, be okay with going maybe starting a semester behind or maybe a year later, but use the time in between wisely to build up your skill set.
Awesome. I hope you guys are writing this stuff down. These are some great gems that they're dropping on you. Andrea, now is it Andrea or Andrea? Oh,
Andrea.
Andrea, okay, all right. I'm getting it right. All right. So What about you? What are some 3 things that you can share with these students?
For me, I would say college is very different than high school in that it becomes essentially your home. You know, you're not just going to a school, you're moving on to your next home. So you want to really visit the school and make sure you're comfortable with the environment, you like the people, you like the teachers, because at the end of the day, my studio family became my family. You know, I was there 24/7, sleeping on the floor in between projects. But so I would say definitely make sure you're comfortable, not just with the school itself, but with the area. I really wanted to be in New York City, so I only looked in New York City. Back to what Pat and Katrin were saying about the different opportunities to take different classes at Pratt. You want to, you know, really make sure that the school you're going to gives you that opportunity to try a little bit of everything, because like we all, you know, started in completely different paths and then ended up in jewelry. It was completely unexpected for me. I personally never thought I would end up in jewelry. So really allow yourself room for growth. You know, don't limit yourself to one section of a school or a school that only teaches one thing. And then number 3, I guess it is about the money. Like Taisha said, you know, don't limit yourself when it comes to a school or a career path just based on the money. Aim for different ranges, and at the end of the day, your application will give you those opportunities too, and there will always be future opportunities. I was one of those kids that definitely didn't have the money, and I applied to a lot of different areas, and when I got accepted into Pratt, it was the one I really wanted to go to, but the most expensive. And I still remember the conversation with my parents in the living room, like, okay, so I didn't think I was going to get in, but now that I am, how are we going to make it work? And I looked for scholarships. I had work study programs that I participated in during school. I actually worked in a jewelry studio. So don't limit yourself, because at the end of the day, if you're passionate about something, those opportunities are going to naturally come to you. If you try to force something to work, it's just not going to work.
Right. Awesome. Thank you so much, Andrea. And Tite, I want to change it up a little bit, the question for you. What are 3 things to consider when researching trade programs or maybe going straight into a career out of high school?
Oh, 3 things to consider. Wow. Well, you know, I never really thought about that. I was kind of stuck on the question that you gave everybody else.
Oh, okay.
Can I just piggyback off of the
Absolutely.
other questions a little bit?
Sure.
I went to George Westinghouse High School, and the conversation was never about going to art school. Our counselors never brought that up to us. I honestly had no clue about RISD. I had no clue about even Pratt, right around the corner from Westinghouse. I would say to the students, if you feel that art is something that you're interested in, find somebody who's going to help you put words to what it is that you want to do, and look for different programs. Because there were a lot of people in my communities who were told, oh yeah, art is not for you, or yeah, you don't do that. Go and be a foreman in a jewelry studio. Yeah, jewelry, don't learn that. So look for somebody who is really going to hear you and try to figure out what it is that you want. Because if I had known that there was such thing as art school, and mind you, my parents came from West Africa, so art is not a thing for us. And I hope I'm not making it sound like they don't know anything about art, but it was more about getting a regular job. So art was never part of that conversation.
Right.
But if I had known about art school, and if I wasn't told, oh yeah, just go and do this, I would have applied for every art school. Like you said, Taisha, everyone from California, because I was into traipsing the world from California to somewhere else. And that's my contribution. Trade school, technical school, make sure it's something that you're really interested in. And don't be afraid to explore all of the programs in that thing. I'm not a caster. I don't care about wax carving. I'm more interested in sitting at my bench with a torch in my hand and my saw frame in the other than I am about filing wax. I don't care about that. I keep trying every year to make myself interested in that, and I'm just not. So those are the two things. Hopefully I answered a question somewhere.
Yeah, I'm glad that you piggyback because you slam dunked that answer.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
I thank you for that. You know, and to piggyback off of that, I totally understand where you're coming from because, you know, as high school students, you're younger and you may be impressionable and you have parents and you have, you know, mentors or someone kind of trying to look out for you, telling you what you should be doing versus what you want to do. And so many people are going into colleges and spending all this money on programs they have no interest in. So I totally agree with that. Thank you so much for that. That was awesome. And you know, I just want to I also want to know from you ladies, if you could travel back in time to your high school self, what advice would you give yourself in terms of preparing for college and career? We can start with Celine, even though you're still a student, but
you still mean high school, right?
High school, yeah.
You just said, yeah. Oh my gosh, that's hard. You know, probably. I mean, I kind of wish that I hadn't gone straight out. I went to Bard. I went to college out of high school for a year. Which was frankly a huge waste of money and time. And I wish that I hadn't. So I'm going to reiterate the same thing. And I wasn't ready and I knew that. And I had talked to my parents about not applying to college. My parents really were not comfortable with that. And so I did. And so the real thing is, you know, feel yourself out. And know how to talk to your parents about this stuff too. I mean, it's really difficult. It's a hard conversation to have. When I did leave Bard, I did not tell my parents. I actually requested the check back, found an apartment and jobs, and then told them that I wasn't going back to school. And, you know, they're so happy that I did it now. And also, so to add one more thing to that, transfer students, all of the transfer students that I have met are the most mature, the most prepared on average than anyone else. Like if your parents think that you don't want to go to school yet because you're slacking, I think that's an important thing to keep in mind is that most people who go back to school are going back because they really want to be there. So see what's in yourself. And it could be that college, you're so excited to go. And if that's the case, go. That's great. But if it's not, then that's okay too. And that does not make you a slacker. That makes you somebody who's listening to yourself.
Awesome. Awesome. Tite?
I would tell myself, and I have my little list here to all of your questions. And it says, I would tell myself to go to art school and then learn more about business and the business of art jewelry. That's what I would tell myself. Like I said, I didn't know anything about art school. Once I found out about RISD, I'm closer to 100 years old now, so going back to art school may not make any sense. But when
you look good.
Thank you. I found a catalog, a RISD catalog. I think I was in my 30s and I was somewhere, I don't know where I was in my career, but I found a RISD catalog and kept that under my pillow for a few years until I was like, you know what, sis, just keep going in the way that you're going. But I would have tried. I really would have. And that's what I would have told myself.
Great. Taisha.
I guess I can touch a little bit more on portfolio prep, because to get into any art or design program, I think I would have guided myself a little bit more there. I kept it really diverse. Well, I should have kept it more diverse. I was afraid that applying to college things had to be perfect, but I think I included all kinds of things, like architectural drawings, paintings, sculptures. Colleges want to know that you are interested in exploring all angles of the jewelry field, of the art field. So even if you know you want to go for jewelry, or you know you want to go for painting or something, you don't have to apply with just those things. Keep it really broad. Another thing that really guided me, I would confidently tell myself now, but at the time, thankfully, I had a professor at my associate's program that told me, just think for funding 2 years out. You're believing yourself that you're talented enough to secure a scholarship when you get into the program. And I was very skeptical. I was like, I don't want to start a program and then I can't finish it. But he was right. When I got into college, I ended up getting a scholarship that covered more than when I was accepted. And that's because when I got there, I just worked harder and made sure I kept up my GPA and did all the things that, you had insider insight now as to what scholarships we're looking for. So just at least plan for 2 years of funding of your 4-year degree. And the other thing I would say is, like Tite mentioned, those catalogs are so helpful. You should go on all the schools' websites and go to like their freshman class work and just see what everybody is doing and aim for that. I always like to encourage high school students to aim for the step above and not particularly your peers. So like, it's the same thing as saying if you shoot for the stars, you fall in the sky, or whichever way around it is. And I always would encourage persons to do that. If you look at the work and it looks like it's a little bit beyond you, try for it. And whatever you produce is probably going to be better than all the other persons applying, and you stand a better chance.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Taisha, for that. Andrea, what would you tell your high school self?
I guess this is kind of cheesy too, but and it goes against everything the way I approach everything, but I would just tell myself to just relax and enjoy the experience a little bit. Just because I'm first generation. No one in my family had ever gone to college before me. And I feel like there was this pressure for me to just go and be incredible at something and just get into a great school and land an amazing job right after. And I had this so I'm a planner. I have notebooks full of plans that I just never fully follow. I just, plan it all. And then at the end of the day, I look back at those years and I'm just like, I had so much fun doing this. Oh, I really love doing that. And I wish that instead of the pressure and the stress and the waking up in sweat over getting something done, I wish I hadn't focused so much on that in the moment and could have actually enjoyed the work I was producing, the people I was spending time with. Because at the end of the day, no matter how much you plan for something, I really planned on going into Pratt and then graduating as a curator and working at the Met and immediately shooting up to a really high salary and having an apartment in the middle of Midtown, which I would never want now because I just don't like Midtown anymore. And even now I still have to tell myself, you have to relax. As opportunities come, just take them. And take them because you're curious, not because you need to succeed and be incredible at them. Just take them because you want to see where they take you. You want to see what you learn from them. And I've been learning to do that a little more recently, but I'm at the point where it would have been so great to have that talk with myself back then and truly enjoy the moment of things, enjoy my internships because it felt awesome to be in them, not because I was already looking 20 steps ahead and trying to follow this path that's just not how life works, you know? So at the end of the day, the money will come, the opportunities will come. You just have to trust it, enjoy it, and move forward.
Amazing advice. So students, I hope you're listening, you know, explore, research, enjoy the process. You know, everything, it will come in due time, but enjoy yourself in the process. And we're going to pivot over to Celine now to discuss her experience in the program. So Celine, what made you decide to apply to Pratt and sign up to study in their jewelry program?
Well, I applied to Pratt for industrial design initially, and that's what I was accepted into. And the first year I did foundation year, and then I started my ID classes the second year. And they were, I think I nicknamed it baby engineering. It was so technical. I didn't feel like it had a lot to do with why I went to school in the first place. And so then I switched over to jewelry, and really have not looked back since at all. I just want to add one thing though on what Taisha had said, like as far as like another example of someone doing what it sounds like she did. So my best friend at Pratt, she had been given some scholarships, but not a ton. And probably partly because she's an international student. And when she got to New York, she realized it was much more expensive than she thought. And she went through foundation year. She did an amazing job. She like won awards and whatever else. And she went back to the fine arts department and she said, this is too expensive. And if you don't give me more money, I'm going to leave. And they gave her another like $15,000 a year. So they want you to stay. Like once you're in, they want you to stay. They want to keep up their graduation rate. They want you there. And so like the ball is in your court. You can renegotiate if you need to. And so I wanted to add that as well, that is actually really common. And I've heard of other people doing the same thing.
Awesome. Thank you. And I would love for you to share with us what your plans are after you graduate and how Pratt has been instrumental in you reaching your career goals.
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, my idea right now is I'd like to get at least an internship or ideally some kind of job in high-end jewelry production. I do a lot of CAD work, so I'm not so much interested in the bench jewelry side. And by bench jewelry, that's like, you know, sawing and soldering and polishing. And I'm more interested in production, which is facilitating jewelers, facilitating like designers to jewelers, and also the CAD part of design work. And CAD stands for computer aided design. As far as what Pratt has done, my junior year, I won a scholarship to attend Penland, which was supposed to be this summer, but it's now next summer. I'm going to learn how to make real eyeglasses, like prescription lenses, sunglasses, all that stuff, up in the mountains of Virginia, fully paid for, 2 weeks. It's going to be amazing. So that was one thing. And that was actually my first introduction to like applying to something and getting it. So then Katrin asked me and chose me and a few other students to apply for the CFDA, which I did not win, but it was an incredible experience as far as just getting together this large portfolio of my work and building work. So that was another good experience. So then when PGI, the Platinum Guild, came around, because of those two experiences, both provided by Pratt, and also PGI was provided by Pratt, I felt really ready for it. And then I won first place. And it actually doesn't even end there, because during the awards ceremony, somebody reached out to me from a jewelry company and asked me to design a line of engagement rings for him. So this is a paid opportunity, which is going to continue on, like, at least for the last few weeks or month after I graduate. So, you know, one thing leading to another. And your question was more about what I'm going to do after I graduate. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know.
It seems like you have a lot of options. So that's awesome. You're exploring your options. That's what you're supposed to do. So you definitely answered the question. So thank you so much, Celine. So we're gonna hop on over to the alumni, and I'm gonna start with you. Well, I want you both to answer this question. Aisha and Andrea, please name a challenge you faced as a new college student and how you overcame it. Andrea, you can go first.
So a challenge as a new college student and how I overcame it. So I guess for me, it was just in high school, it's a different pool of students, you know, than going to like art school. And I was used to having the best work and having really great work. And then, you know, first critique in art school, I realized that, all right, I'm surrounded by amazing people and there's so much room to grow. And I sort of had to learn that I'm brand new at this. I'm brand new at this career. It doesn't matter that I have some talent or skill set. It's still the point where it's malleable and it's early on. And I had to really learn to accept criticism and grow from it instead of like, oh no, I'm better than that. Oh no, this is the way you do it. Because you're a baby essentially. And you have to accept that and grow from that. And only by doing that do you get better. So it was a lot of rough couple of weeks where, you know, I would try my hardest at a project, think, oh, this is great, it's amazing, she's gonna love it. And then go into class and like learn where the project was flawed and where I made mistakes and accept that and be okay with that and sort of switch my mentality so that I was almost be excited by that. Because it meant that there was potential for growth. I could get better and it was only gonna get better instead of being disappointed.
Awesome. Taisha?
I'll mention two. First one is college is a little bit more flexible than I think most high school students think, or at least I thought it was this rigid thing that, you know, I had to be perfect about. And I actually started college 2 weeks late, which I thought was impossible because I just didn't get everything I needed in order in time. So when the deadlines passed, I still committed. I was like, hey, can I still come? And they were like, sure. And so when I got to college 2 weeks later, which was really 3 weeks behind everybody else, because they had done a that week before where you get orientation and stuff. I jumped into classes and everybody was two weeks into their projects. And to be honest, a lot of the teachers weren't confident that I could complete the classes or complete the assignments and follow through. But I knew what I came there for and I was very committed to it. And I was very serious about my work. So they had all their doubts. I was like, okay, you can doubt as much as you want. That has nothing to do with me. I'm just gonna keep on doing my work and you just tell me whatever the deadline is and I'll meet it. So it took a lot of courage and believing in myself to, you know, pull through that 2 week period because I had just moved to a new country. I just moved in a new dorm. I'm just learning about the food. I'm learning about all 10 projects for my 10 classes that everybody started 2 weeks ago, and I now have to start them. And it was a lot condensed in that first week, but I just calmed myself down and took that first weekend to get up to scratch. And by week 3, I walked in the classroom on the same level as everybody else. I was like, this has to happen. So I think your commitment to making it happen is a super important part to getting through college and knowing that they're willing to work with you. Nobody was going to kick me out. I was like, we're going to work together. So if you keep me in the classes, I promise I'll do the work.
Wonderful. Awesome. Thank you. And we're going to move right along because There's so many, you guys are giving such amazing answers. I want to make sure that we have time for everything. So I'm going to hop on over to you, Tite, and I want to ask, as a art jewelry designer, how does fashion in art play an integral role in your creative process?
I don't know so much if fashion actually plays in as much as art does.
Okay.
Fashion, for me, I almost feel like my customers are looking for something that's a little bit different than probably what fashion is saying is in right now, or this is the style, or this is the look. And I like to say my girls, they want something that's completely different. They want something that they feel that they could use to express themselves to whatever degree when they're going to work. They want something that's a little bit different. They may have to be very, you know, total line when they go to work, but they need something else that's doing a little something else. So I think art plays more of a part than fashion in my work.
Got it. Awesome.
Yeah. Did I give you what? I feel like I'm
Absolutely.
supposed to say more.
You did it.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
No, thank you. Thank you so much.
This question is actually a really great segue into our next portion of this conversation, and that is with Kingsborough Community College. We have with us Catherine Nareski, who's the director of the fashion design program at Kingsborough, and Theresa Mastriani, who's the associate professor, director, business of fashion program, also at Kingsborough, also a really great Brooklyn school. And so we have this presentation that we'd like to share with you as well, as we're getting that up on the screen. And I have some questions for both Kate and Theresa. Thank you both so much for being here with us today, because we know that a lot of students, before they think of jewelry, they think of fashion. And so while I ask you these questions, Felicia will be sharing her screen and showing you the incredible opportunities that are available at Kingsborough. So my first question, sorry, I'm like, where did I lost my question? My first question is, can you please give us some background on Kingsborough and the fashion programs that you offer? And I know I see here that Felicia has started sharing some of those.
Yeah, hi. So you did a great job introducing me, but I'm Kate. I'm the director of the fashion design program at Kingsborough. And we're a relatively new program. We're just about a little bit over a decade old. And we offer an AAS degree, which is a 2-year program in fashion design. And we unfortunately do not have any dedicated jewelry classes or anything like that. But what we see ourselves as a really important stepping stone to where students want to go. So we have a lot of students come in and we have no portfolio requirements. So the students that come in really have a huge diverse range of abilities. Some people have never done anything. They've never drawn anything. They've never sewn anything, but they know that they like design. They like art. They want to be creative and they want to test it out, see how it is for them. We also have a lot of students come in that are incredibly talented, and because of location or because of monetary reasons, they choose us to gain access to transfer to other 4-year schools. And as you'll see a little bit later on in our program, we have about half our students go off into the industry after they get our degree, and half of them go on to 4-year schools. And we certainly have had some students go on to Pratt. I don't know for jewelry yet, but hopefully in the future. But what we try to do is we try to offer that baseline for all designers. Now, of course, since we are a fashion design program, we do more than just color theory or just design composition or things like that. You are going to be sewing, you are going to be draping and things like that. But again, when we do a lot of our designing and collection work, I see we're already here at sketching. So sketching is one of the basic foundations that we do, and we do both design sketches and technical sketches, and these are both student work. Student was Yu-King Yang from our spring 2020 semester. She's an incredibly talented student, as you can see. And we try to get our students to build up their sketching abilities, again, by hand, and also digitally. So whatever medium you feel most comfortable with, we're really encouraging a lot more digital media these days. So again, you know, since we don't have a portfolio requirement, if you're you know, looking at the portfolio requirements for a lot of these four-year schools and you're shaking in your boots a little bit, you're not quite there yet, come to Kingsborough, we'll work it out, we'll build up your skills, we'll build up your portfolio, and we'll get you to where you feel comfortable. And again, as one of the alumni said, always shoot a little bit higher, but it's always really important to be prepared, because I know, you know, a lot of students will go and maybe bite off a little bit more than they can chew if they do get in or they don't get in because of portfolio requirements. It's always good to have that base level skill. So you're not too overwhelmed when you do, if you do or decide to go to a four-year school, anything else. So sketching is one of the basic skills that we try to develop, and we can go to the next slide. Draping, of course, and again, unfortunately, we don't have any of those amazing jewelry studios. Look so fun at Pratt, but we do have fashion labs and we do have sewing labs. And we teach draping, which is, you know, we'll get you good with your hands. If you are one of those that like to build with your hands, your hands will not be idle in our program. And draping is one of the ways that we are able to sculpt around a form of human form to create our patterns for the garments that we create. And this is a picture of some student work in progress. Fall 2019. And we go on. And of course, we also do pattern drafting, and we focus on both old school technique and new school technique. So we do it on paper and also on CAD. The CAD software we use is Optitex, and it's great to familiarize yourself with these CADs, as I'm sure all the jewelry people know. It's really becoming sort of an industry norm, and the sooner you can familiarize yourself with more complex technical programs, the more better off you are to be competitive in the changing industry. And not only do we have Optitex, but it also has 3D rendering capabilities, which is great. We also focus again on garment construction, and this is a part of our fashion show. That's one of our students, 3 Looks Siling. That was our fall 2019 KCC fashion show. Unfortunately, our last in-person fashion show momentarily, as of course we're taking hiatus from that. We'll probably, hopefully by fall, get back to it again. But you know, it's a really fun place for students to come together and showcase their looks. And we do it, we used to do it every semester. Again, we have taken a few semesters off due to circumstances. But it's, you know, a really great thing to come together and show and just celebrate the design work. And it'll really allow, so things like the fashion show and our sketching and our design courses, we really give our students a lot of freedom to kind of meet their skill level. So like I said, we have a lot of different skill levels coming into our program. And the way that we handle that is that there's a lot of flexibility with the projects. If you're not quite there yet, you're going to do something a little simpler. If you're ready for the challenge, we're going to encourage you and push you to go ahead and do that. And because we have a lot of people who are really interested in a lot of different markets, we push going into trying different markets. So that's why we can be a really great sort of pathway to jewelry if you're interested in sort of the design world. You know, if you come into our sketching classes and say, I want to sketch, I want to design a jewelry collection, we say, fine, that's fantastic. Go ahead and do it, because we want you to find that area that's going to work for you. And how else are you going to do that unless you try out all these different things? So that's really where our flexibility in our program and our assignments really comes in. And regardless, jewelry is so important when you are designing that look. I know every single one of my sketching classes, so you got to think about the whole look. When you get dressed in the morning, do you just put on your shirt and pants, or do you think about your hair? Do you think about your jewelry? Do you think about, how are you going to do your makeup? How are you going to, all these different things come together for the look. So you have to think about that 100%, coming together. So again, and there's so many things, principles that we learn in the program, just like I said, color and composition and design and how to do trend forecasting and different things like that are so relatable into jewelry. And I know just in my own personal experience, I have BFA from Parsons in fashion. I never designed a jewelry collection. I never worked in jewelry. But a few years out of college, I found myself working in jewelry, just because and at the time, I didn't know a topaz from a tourmaline. I didn't know anything about metal, but the skills I learned in fashion, drawing by hand and CAD drawing, allowed me to be a viable candidate because they did their smithing offshore. So they relied on a lot of technical illustrations to relay from the offshores people, from the designers. And that was my role. And everything that I learned in my fashion degree prepared me for that job. And it was a lot of fun. Jewelry is a lot of fun.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah,
yeah, go ahead. No.
Yeah, well, we can get on to the next slide.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, just much more. With your, with the AS degree, again, we try to prepare you to go on if you feel secure with your portfolio. I always encourage, our graduates, they say, what should I do here? Should I transfer for 4 years? Should I transfer for a job? And I say, it really depends on what you want. I always say try to go for a job. A lot of them, like about 50% go. Because if you get a great job right from there, you're going to save some money and some time. But a lot of our students, they will feel more secure. And again, they probably will get better jobs. They will feel they need to hone their skills a little bit more, and they'll transfer to four-year schools. The school that takes most of our transfers is FIT, but again, we do have, we've had a bunch of alums go to Pratt and other different schools in the area, all over the world, really. And again, we just want to give you that basis of color, textiles, designing, looking at the world, and things like that. And again, we're that stepping stone. Again, if you're not quite there with your portfolio, if you're not quite there with money yet, or whatever it is, we're really a safe place to go and try things out and hone your abilities for the next step and prepare you to be there.
And so you mentioned that, some of your students go on to four-year programs, other students sort of go out into the workforce. Do you provide, or what kind of support do you sort of provide for students in both of those spectrums, right? So those that go on to a four-year program and those who go out straight into the field, do you offer sort of any help or guidance?
Sure, absolutely. So we have career development offices in Kingsborough, which help in sort of the general aspect if they want to go out. Now, with a lot of the transfers, since our program is small, and I think that's another one of the advantages of Kingsborough is that we develop really close relationships with our students. So when they have, we do portfolio reviews with them. They say, this is, whatever school they're going to, all my students that feel comfortable and want it will come in and we'll go over their portfolio. We'll go over, even if they need help writing the essays or different things like that. We offer that sort of person-to-person, support, which again is so important for, us as a program. And us as a college too, that's one of the things that we can really offer is that, one-on-one support, because a lot of students really need it. And then of course we do have a transfer office as well. So we do try to support our students the best we can, whatever they're going to do, whether it's 4-year or whether it's going to be, getting that job.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. Can you give us some insight into where former students, where they've been hired by?
Sure. So we have a lot of students that have been hired as sort of design assistants for places in New York. We have, I know they've been hired by Joe Boxer. I had another student who was working for Ralph Lauren. I'm sure, again, trying to go off the top of my head now.
Yeah, no, of course. I didn't have to put you on the spot.
That's okay. But I'm trying to think of any others.
But those are great.
List but I had some on the other side if you want to just to describe a couple notable alums and what they're doing, because we do have a lot of students that go off and start their own lines.
Yeah, please.
Very much entrepreneurial spirit. And the other ones before, I don't know if you can go back. I just wanted to.
Yeah.
Because it was just a small sample.
One slide back, sure. Felicia, do you mind? Thank you.
Yeah, just a small sample of our alums. Wei Lin, he is actually a freelance now, who's does sort of a design coordinator and consultant. But he won a college student contest at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, and he had one of his looks portrayed at the Metropolitan Museum of Art as part of the exhibit in 2015, China Through the Looking Glass. Another fantastic alumni won in 2017. He does these absolutely amazing hand-painted dresses. He came all the way from Armenia to New York to do this, and he went on to FIT and then again started his own brand. And then our other alumni, Sydney Noel, was featured, has started again her own line, and she was featured at the Brooklyn Library's Fashion Academy presents Carnival, and those are her looks up there. So again, we have a lot of students come in and then go off, and it's actually pretty popular to start their own brands. Yeah.
Yeah, that's incredible. Thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Well, thank you.
And so our next slide, I believe, takes us into the Business of Fashion department. Theresa? Let's see.
I'll unmute myself. That would be better. Hello, everyone. I'm Theresa Mastriani, and I am the director of the Business of Fashion program at Kingsborough Community College. And this program has been in existence for about 45 years. It was under a different name. It was under the business, it was under the fashion merchandising with a marketing or a fashion concentration. But about 3 years ago, we renamed it to be more current with what other colleges were doing. We have a great relationship with both FIT and LIM, which is where many of our students go. But our students go to a lot of different colleges if they choose to go on to college, and I'll talk about some of the career paths a little bit later. This is really for people who are interested in fashion but want to get to know the business side. So you don't have to be able to sketch, you don't have to be able to drape, you don't even have to know how to sew. You just have to be interested in fashion. And I'll go through some of the things our students do. Next slide, please. So one of the things that our students really get involved with, and one of the career paths, is fashion sales promotion. Promoting your brand, your company, your own style. These are all really important. And our curriculum at Kingsborough is very up to date. We use a lot of technology in our courses. We use and have contacts in the industry. And when we talk about sales promotion, we're talking about marketing. Everything is digital. And you learn the terminology of marketing, you know who your target market is. And what we really try to do with our students is help them develop their own voice, and they're reaching their customer in what they're interested in promoting. Next slide, please. Another thing that we do that is really interesting and really an important thing, not just for fashion brands, but actually for everybody, for cars, for furniture, for cosmetic branding, is fashion forecasting. What's going to be the hottest thing in the next season? And so we have this as a course, but we also have it as part of our general curriculum and all of our other courses like product development. We look at fashion trends. We look at fashion forecasting as a science, not just as an art. And we have an actual subscription with Fashion Snoops, which we use. We had a visual field trip last Wednesday with all of the students to show them how it is to work in the industry in forecasting and what would take place. We have a subscription with the company, and we use actually the company's hardware for students to work on their projects and develop their own portfolios in fashion forecasting. It's an exciting career path. And then of course we have retailing, and it's so funny because I was in Manhattan this morning, and it's so sad to me having come to New York when I went to FIT and never having left New York, to see how many stores have closed. But we have, of course, Macy's is the largest store in the world. We have a lot of our boutiques, and we are going to see retailing opening back up. Thank God the news and the about the pandemic is that things are opening back up, and we're going to see a lot of new things. So if people want to go into management, there are two things that you can do. You can work in a store. You can also work in terms of your career going online, because obviously those are the two directions. In many cases, we really have that combination of all kinds of retailing. So we hit people through websites, of social media. It really is that circular concept, and then retail stores as well. So there's a lot of different things that you can take a look at. And a lot of our students like styling. And we know that from all our famous celebrities that they all have personal stylists. But it was kind of funny. I was listening to the radio the other day, and they were saying that people develop their own style, and sometimes they became famous because of what they wear. So styling will look at, again, the forecasting of trends. It will look at history of fashion and how that comes back into play. And that could be in museum work, or it could be in trends for companies and what they're developing. And really, everybody is developing their own signature look. And that's really the important part of styling. Textiles is an important component, and actually I am a professor in teaching textiles, and our students who are design, fashion design, Kate's students, as well as my business of fashion students, take textiles. And textiles is really all about important information about how the fabrics will respond, what the new current trends are, looking at sustainability, looking at new fabrics that can not only be seasonless and wrinkle resistant, but also maybe be helpful in our health, giving information back to our doctors. All this stuff is really the new trends that are transpiring. Next slide. So where do our graduates go? So Kate actually put together this slide, and she said 50% of fashion design. Well, this should also say business of fashion as well, because all of our students go on to whatever careers they want. And it's very varied. In the next slide, I want to talk about a particular success story for our program. Oh, sorry, it's not in this presentation. But let me just say that I have one student who decided after she graduated from Kingsborough that she was going to open a little lingerie store in Brooklyn. And she did, and she was very successful. And wasn't it funny? She was picked up by the New York Times. And then just this winter, she was again re-interviewed by the New York Times and got a lot of coverage, and it's interesting because I was so excited about it that I shared it with our college president, who said to me, Theresa, where's the store? I think I want to go and get fitted by her for a bra. And it's, you know, she became very, very famous. It's interesting. We have students who start their own businesses. We have people who work for a lot of different kinds of companies. We have students who transfer into business of fashion. We have students who transfer into international business. That's a really big thing for our students. We have a lot of students who also go into cosmetic marketing. There is a big cosmetic marketing program at FIT, and I've had students who will have gone on to work at L'Oreal, Lancome L'Oreal, and Estee Lauder. So the sky is the limit. Where they go really depends upon what their interests are. And as Kate was saying, we do work on a one-to-one basis with our students. We have great faculty who have been with us for a long time, who really have an interest in the students. And we have great support staff, and our support staff works with the students to get to know them when it comes time to give them ideas about what they should take. They kind of plan it out. We try to make sure that they get through their courses so they do graduate on time. We give them a lot of personal touch that you don't get in a bigger four-year school. I went to State University, and I always say this, that my first business course, my introduction to business course, that there was myself and 100 other people who I never got to know in the class. We don't have that at Kingsborough.
That's awesome.
So that's a nice thing. Okay, you can go on, and I don't know, Kate, if we'll go back and forth in the next couple slides.
Sure, the next few slides just tells a little bit about the college on a whole. So one of our, big selling points is we're very inexpensive. And most all of our students, so we have the residential tuition and non-resident residential tuition full-time, part-time, but we do also have a lot of financial aid. Actually, most all of our students are on financial aid, and so they don't actually pay anything. And in addition to that, they get money for MTA cards, for transportation, money for materials and books and supplies. Here it is. We have lots and lots of different types of financial aid. So if you're from the city and you qualified for financial aid, not only are you probably going to go to school for free, but you're going to get lots of support with transportation and materials and different things like that. So we are very keenly aware of monetary issues with our students, and we try to support them and solve those problems the best that we can.
Absolutely. And I want to add that we also have foreign students at our school, and that the tuition is so much more affordable for foreign students that they are able to get an apartment and live in Brooklyn. And many of them, again, this is a way to get started in their careers and then move on from there.
Incredible. Thank you.
Just a few sort of requirements for application fees and different things like that. And I think even now, Terry, didn't you hear something? There's about a waiver of the application fee.
There is, absolutely.
So this might even be a little bit old, but what you would need. And again, for our program specifically are not portfolios. So long as you have these requirements, you're good to go. We're ready to take you in.
In addition to on this slide, I just want to say we also have a wonderful honors program at Kingsborough. So anyone who comes from high school who has an 85 CUME or higher, and who has SATs combined scores of 950 or more, we can do honors projects. So we try to motivate people at every single level in Kate's program and in mine.
In addition, there's lots of clubs and fun programs at Kingsborough. Like we really try to focus on the full college experience. And we got a great campus too. We got our own beach.
That's right.
Nice.
We can't wait to be back on it.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I was going to mention that, a lot of times students sort of decide, when they're applying to college that they want to leave the city because they want to have, a real campus experience. And both Kingsborough and Pratt have really beautiful college campuses that really feel like you're almost not, in the city. Especially, with Kingsborough, you mentioned you have this incredible beach and it's just, it's breathtaking. So, when you can sort of go and visit, I really do encourage you, because it's also really important, to feel comfortable at the institution where you're going to be, for the next 2 years or 4 years or whatever you choose. But like Andrea was saying, you do end up calling this place home. And so certainly both campuses are gorgeous. So,
to add to that, I think that Kate and I can attest to it. It's a big school, but our departments are very nurturing and loving. We really, we know our students on a first name basis. They know us. They're constantly in contact with us, and we do help them. And that's really a wonderful experience about having that hands-on experience in a big school, but in a smaller program.
Absolutely. And especially, if you do choose to go straight out of high school, it's so important to sort of still feel like you're in a nurturing environment, because
Yes.
college, it could sort of feel a bit, especially in the beginning, disorienting and, so thank you both so incredibly. Thank you so much. So if we have about another 10 minutes left till the end of the program, and we have a really wonderful game that we would love for you all to take part in. And so I will hand it back over to Pat and Felicia.
Okay, this is going to be the speed quiz game. Felicia,
A real pop quiz.
Yeah, totally. So do you want me to share my screen, or do you want to?
For sure.
Okay. All right, give me 1 second here. Oh.
If you attended our last session, you know that we love games. And so sort of continuing on that theme, we have a really great game for you. But of course, if you have any questions, please drop them in the chat. If you have any questions for Kate and Theresa, please drop them in the chat. Also, Theresa sent, Kate and Theresa both included an email address. So if you're interested in getting in touch, please do so with them as well. Okay.
All right, here we go. I'm going to ask Katrin to kind of help me out here.
Okay.
So we're going to introduce you to several different types of jewelry that you would find in the field, because there are so many. And then we're going to have you try to tell us which pieces. Hang on 1 second. Okay. Oh. There we go. Yeah. Okay. There we go. Okay. So anyway, let's do the introductions first. So first of all, we have fine jewelry. And fine jewelry, as you can see from these examples, are pretty much pieces that are made with fine materials: gold, platinum, precious stones. Katrin, did you want to just jump in if you want to add anything? Okay. I'm going to go really fast.
Yeah, go fast.
Fashion costume jewelry. So fashion costume jewelry sometimes tricky because it wants to look like fine jewelry, but it's not made from those finer materials. It's made from, base metals and simulated stones or glass or crystal.
Started as like the copy of fine jewelry, right? The cheap copy of the fine jewelry has become its own thing now, though.
Right, exactly. And is usually lesser expensive, a lesser expensive price point. Okay, then we have art jewelry, and art jewelry, and I think this is said so well, to kind of think of this medium as micro sculpture, right? It's artistic. It uses materials that you wouldn't normally see in jewelry necessarily. But it can also use precious metals and stones, but usually in very non-traditional ways. Studio jewelry. Studio jewelry is made usually production or limited production or limited edition pieces that are made by an artist in their studio. So I personally consider myself a studio jeweler. I hand make all my work. I have a studio, a bench, I craft everything myself. Designer jewelry, as a counter to that, is a little different. It's jewelry that is designed by a designer, but in most cases, not necessarily made by the designer. The designer gives their designs to a skilled bench jeweler who then crafts those pieces for them. Bling, 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 or bling is jewelry that usually is designed predominantly in precious materials. It's to make a statement, and it definitely allows the person wearing it to present themselves as wealthy or have a high status. And then we have wearable technology, and wearable technology, which is a growing popular field for wearables, both in the fashion sector as well as the jewelry sector. And most of these pieces are, microcontrollers that allow you to track something, track your pulse if you're exercising, track your mood, track your sleep habits, etc. And I have a second slide here. And this, I just wanted to say this last image here, Niklumi, I'll put a link in the chat because this, or if you Google it, you'll see a video. I didn't put the video in this presentation, but this is light that actually moves with you. So like if this person with this jewelry this light is reflected, it's controlled by an app. And if this person jumps or moves, or the jewelry moves with them. It's really fascinating and worth checking out the video. Okay, here we go. We're going to start our game. So what I'm going to ask is that all of our students just type your answer in the chat really quickly. Like there in most cases, there's no like totally wrong answer, right? And some of these will be duplicated. So here's our first one. Your choices are there. So just tell us what you think what this is. And I have to open my chat because I cannot see it. There we go. Okay. All right. So interesting. We're getting some interesting answers. Designer jewelry, costume, fine. All right. So I am going to reveal the answer. Great. Oops.
Look at all this participation. I love it.
There we go. So I'm going to actually close my chat. I'm going to let you guys monitor the chat for me because I can't see my screen in the chat. Everyone at the same time. But the answer is actually, this piece is actually considered fine jewelry. This is made by a New York jewelry company, and it is all precious material. It is platinum, sapphires, diamonds. However, I love the diversity in the answers because most of the time, there is not one right answer. And it could be costume, right? We don't know. All right, so I'm gonna let you put in the chat your thoughts about this. And if someone could just let me know when to go to the answer slide, that would be helpful because I can't monitor the chat.
We got art jewelry, studio and art jewelry are the biggest answers.
Woo! So guess what? Studio jewelry, you got it. That's correct.
That's a beautiful
Excellent.
image too.
Isn't that gorgeous? If you want to check out more of her work, go to her website. She has some really great pieces and some beautiful images and some videos. All right, here we go. Next one.
Okay, let's see.
Thanks, Katrin.
We got art jewelry. We get art. Okay.
Okay, I think that's right.
Hey. Good job, guys.
Oh.
Could also be fashion jewelry, right? It's really true. It could be, a cheap metal and made to look beautiful. You're right.
Yeah, and this actually uses real cicada insect wings. And by the way, Marta's work is beautiful. Check out her website to see more. This one's an easy one, I think.
Let's see what we got. I think this tag.
Wearable tech.
Wearable tech. That's it.
Yes. And this is the Fitbit. All right, next one.
Okay. What have we got now? You guys are doing really well.
Yeah,
They are.
excellent.
Exciting. And you could see how much stuff is out there. Designer, fine. Designer, fine. Fashion or fine.
Okay.
Designer,
Okay.
yeah, it's
I
both.
didn't see this before. No. Bravo. Excellent. 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 Excellent.
Really good job. All right, what have we got now? Let's see.
I feel like this one's tricky.
Okay, bling or fashion? Bling, bling, question mark. Ah, that's so interesting. Bling, fashion or art or bling, fashion costume.
All right. Here I'm
Art.
revealing the answer. Yes. So this is really a tricky piece because we consider it art jewelry because it was designed by an artist, the surrealist artist Salvador Dali. However, this piece was made by a bench jeweler, right? By a jeweler, and it's precious material. So it really does kind of fall into all of those categories.
And indeed, it could be bling as well, right?
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
think all those different things again, right? Okay. We have someone who likes jewelry so much that he's named it. Bling, 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 bling,
Oh,
bling.
yeah. So I simply could not resist this because I love his name.
I
2 Chainz. Like, how perfect for jewelry is that?
He was 2 chains before he got successful, right? Now he's really got many chains. It's so cool, actually. It's really cool. All right, new one. You guys, what do you say? I'm checking. There's a little waiting. Bling, bling, bling. Interesting. Bling. See? Is it studio or fashion or bling?
Huh. Yeah, this is another tricky one.
And is. And that's where it starts getting interesting, right? Because you suddenly, oh, and then a hug, an emoji of, I don't know.
So this is the work of Goran Kling, and this is actually considered studio art jewelry. However, he is very deliberately making pieces that reflect popular culture. And that's why it is a little bit tricky. And I think this photo also does that.
And that's why bling is not a wrong answer at all, right?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Made in sterling silver, right? So it could truly also be designer jewelry. So this is where these, you know, these specific areas start to blend into one another, right?
Okay, here's the next one.
Da-da-da. This is Drake's Rolls Royce, just in case you're wondering. Art, wearable, art or designer, art. Ah,
Interesting.
there we go. Super interesting.
So we would probably categorize this as bling, right? Because we have this gold owl hood ornament on a car. It's an object. However, it's precious metal. It was made by a bench jeweler that is actually in New York City on 47th Street in the Diamond District, made this piece. We can't tell you who it is.
And it's fair.
We're not allowed to.
And it's fair to say that it's art as well, right? I mean, so
absolutely, the sculpture.
It's so cool now because you see how all the stuff overlaps in so many different ways, right? I think it's, I don't know, he said something like $2 million or $10 million. I don't know, some insane amount of money. It's solid 18 karat gold with diamonds.
Wow.
Uh-huh. Okay, what have we got? Let's see, hold on. Bling. Bling, costume, bling, bling, bling. Okay, costume and bling are definitely answers. Designer.
Oops, did I go too fast? Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
Anyway, it's it's so interesting because Katrin and I were discussing this piece and we were both saying like, this is bling, but it's also fine jewelry. Is made by Cartier. It's, you know, platinum, sapphire, and diamonds. But it is definitely bling.
Very blingy, for sure.
And that's it. Great job, everybody.
You guys. Yay.
That was great.
Okay, well, thank you all so very much. Felicia, Corinne, any sort of last words before we sign off? And thank you all so very, very much to our panelists and participants. We couldn't have done this without you. And thank you all to the students for hanging out with us for the last 2 hours. So Corinne, Felicia, any last words?
I'm just so excited that we were able to do this. I feel like I want to give a big virtual hug to all of our panelists. You ladies rocked it, and I really hope that these students were able to take notes, that are able to look into these great institutions. These panelists that we have are actual fine jewelers. They're our jewelers, art jewelers. They make beautiful pieces, so look them up. I'm sure there's going to be some information in the chat for you to be able to research them. Again, do your research, explore, enjoy your youth while you have it. You have a lot to look forward to. You have a beautiful future ahead of you, and we just want to help to direct you in the right place if this is where you belong. So that's what I thank you. Corinne?
May I? Sorry.
Sorry, Pat. No, go ahead.
So I just wanted to say thank you to New York City Jewelry Week, to New York City Department of Education, Corinne for helping organize, Felicia, and our alumni, and Celine. Thank you so much. You guys are brilliant. We miss you and love you.
Yes, we love you all. This was an amazing opportunity. And I think the fact that almost all of the students stayed on for 2 hours is a real testament to how much fun this event was, how interesting it was, and truly inspirational. So thank you to all of the presenters today and to all the students here. You know, whether you pursue jewelry or you pursue fashion or whatever you pursue, it's okay to change your mind. Just remember that. There's advantages to smaller programs versus longer programs. But in the end, college is such an important piece to not only your education, but to really opening the doors to so many opportunities for you. So we truly encourage you to consider college, whether it's right after high school or sometime after, whatever works for you, but certainly consider it. Thank you all again for joining, and good luck to all of you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
All right. Okay. Bye. I'm gonna let you guys go. That was great. Thank you so much.
Hi, thank you so much. That was awesome. Thank you so much.
Meet you soon, Felicia.
Yes, for sure.
Nice to meet you. That was
Yes,
great.
same here. Thank you for joining. That was amazing.
Thank you, Corinne. We'll be in touch.
Yeah, we'll be in touch. Do you guys have any, is there anything that you need from me for the next one?
No, we're still looking for a designer, but I think we should be good. I'm going to make sure that I get you.
Oh, I'm just not hearing you. Sorry.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I'm gonna make sure that I get you the like promo piece for them to put on Instagram or whatever.
Oh yeah. Oh, you know what? That's one thing I forgot was I keep forgetting this, is if you guys wanted to put your handle, if the students wanted to say anything about the event, but no worries, it's all good.
Yeah,
but
they
yeah,
were very vocal.
Yeah, they were. And I gotta say, these like quizzes that you guys have, these little participatory things, they're so golden. They clearly love that kind of stuff. So definitely the more of that, the better, I think, for sure.
Fantastic. Okay, so I'll make sure that I get all of that stuff to you. And yeah.
No problem. Yeah, I'll probably start pushing the next one just to get them to RSVP, like figure this like maybe a week after spring break.
Okay.
So if you want to send me, if you have a flyer or something you want to send me for that, then go ahead and send it and I'll include it with the invite.
Okay.
But no big rush. Whenever you send it, it's fine because I send them a reminder anyway, so it's all good.
Okay. Awesome.
All right, cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you. That was amazing.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.